Today is Tuesday, September 24th, 2013, and we are interviewing Mr. Robert Galvan at the Illinois State Illinois State Library in Springfield, Illinois. Mr. Galvan is 60 years old, having been born on November 6, 1947.
66 years old.
Well, I'm sorry, what did I say?
60.
Okay, all right, he's 66 years old. He was born November 6, 1947. Mr. Galvan, my name is Kathy Grimmett, and I will be your interviewer. Mr. Galvan, could you please tell us, for the recording, what war and branch of service you were in?
I was in the Army in 1966 to 1970. I joined for the reason of going into our services to do whatever our country needed me to do. I was scheduled at first to go to Vietnam, but then it got changed and I went to Korea. Spent 2 years in Korea, 2 years statewide. I was in the infantry. No, I take that back. I was artillery. I don't know why I said infantry. Artillery. I was in the guided missiles. I was a launcher crewman and a radar operator. During my time there was a lot of camaraderie between all of us. We had an influx also of Vietnam soldiers that would come to South Korea. And they would tell us about their harrowing adventures and close calls that they had. And on occasions I would get a little envious because I wanted to go there too. But for some reason they did not send me. When they first told me that I was going to go, I actually had a little excitement because I was going to go fight for our country. But then when they changed me over, that was a little bit of a letdown for me. But I do have relatives that have gone. I have two cousins that were, well, one cousin that was over there. Oh, two. One lost his foot. The other one came back pretty much intact. My 4 years that I put in were some of the best years that I put in as far as becoming a man and what it made me today. I believe most young people should go in for at least 2 years. I have no regrets about ever going in. I would do it again over and over again if I had to. My family has been very patriotic as far as our service commitments to our country. All levels of our family have been into the service. From my dad, my uncles, my cousins, myself, my nephews. We believe in fighting for our country and serving our country. And that's about the best I can tell you. We're a family of veterans.
It's wonderful. It's a great heritage. Could you tell me a little about yourself, where you were born, raised, family, siblings?
I was born in Chicago, raised in the Bridgeport area, which is Mayor Daley's area. Went to Catholic schools, grade schools, high schools. Worked for the post office before I joined the Army. Came back. Worked briefly for, I'm trying to think of what it is. It's No, I can't remember it right now.
It's okay.
Uh, it's where people go that don't have money to get lawyers. It's by the state.
Yeah, the AIDS.
Yeah, legal aid. United Charities Legal Aid Bureau, that's what it was. Then went to school for mechanics while I was there. And then,
Did you use your GI Bill?
pardon?
Did you use the GI Bill that was on?
Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I used the GI Bill to go to school for mechanics, work for the government as a mechanic. The federal government has the largest fleet of cars in the world. Worked there for about 13, 14 years. Chemicals did not agree with me, so I had to leave there. And then from there, I worked with my family. They had clothing stores, numerous clothing stores, so I went to work for them. Then I went to work for Gibson Electric, one of the largest Midwest electrical contractors in the Chicagoland area. I was a warehouse manager for them for about 14, 15 years. There were circumstances there between the owner and who he sold for, which caused the downsizing of all of his employees. So I ended up leaving there because all of us, including my bosses, we all got laid off. They were a bare skeleton because they had no more business. And then I went to work as a machinist. And I did that for about 15 years. And then I worked to work for Jesse White's Secretary of State for 5 years before I retired. And which was an experience in itself, working for Secretary of State. Got to meet a lot of people, a lot of wonderful people. Had to deal with the public quite a bit, which was very educational, and different types of people that you meet, which I love meeting people. So that was...
You were 19 when you went in the service.
Yes. No, 20.
You were 20, okay, when you went in the service. So did you leave behind family, or were you married at the time?
No, I was single. That's why I joined. I was single, so I didn't have a wife or children or anything like that. I was single, came back.
How did your parents feel about you leaving and going at that age?
My dad was actually very proud of me going, and my family. And as a matter of fact, my uncles and aunts, when I left, were also at the airport when I left to say goodbye to me.
Did you have any other family members who were already in the service?
Yes, my cousin. He was already in. He was the oldest of the cousins. And he was already in, and he was in Vietnam.
So you enlisted. You weren't drafted.
No, I enlisted. I wanted to go.
And you were in the Army.
Pardon?
You were in the Army?
Yes, I was.
Why did you choose the Army over the others?
My dad was in the Army.
Okay.
So I followed in his footsteps.
And how was the boot camp and all the basic training, those type things?
I thought it was fun.
And where
I
did you
love
go?
boot camp.
Where did you go for boot camp?
I went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And boot camp was just like fun to me.
Summer camp, huh?
Like a summer camp to me, because at the time I was very athletic. So whatever we did, it just fell into with me.
How was the food and the...
Well, the food was, when you got to eat it, you know, they weren't rushing you out. Was so-so. Wasn't too bad. Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. Now, I heard tell that the Air Force had the best food. And I thought sometimes to myself, well, maybe I should have went into the Air Force.
So how long was it before you were shipped to Korea?
Well, I spent about a year, 9 months, stateside. Then I went to Korea. It was supposed to be a 13-month stay. I loved it over there in the Orient, so I extended my stay till I got out.
Okay. What did you do stateside before you went as military?
Military? I was in artillery. I was a radar operator, launcher crewman.
Okay. And when you went to Korea, what were your duties?
Radar operator, launcher crewman.
Okay. You want to elaborate on those. I'm not sure what they do.
Okay. Back in those days, we had missile silos. Well, in the Chicagoland area, you had them all along the lakefront. In Indiana, you had them in the middle of cornfields. Same thing when you went to overseas. They were in different sections in Korea.
Stop just a minute. What's a missile silo?
A missile silo is where the missiles come out of, where they shoot the missiles from.
It actually looks like a silo.
Yes.
Okay.
And they come out from under the ground.
Okay.
And I also did radar operator also. That's where you watch for anything that was coming into your vision, into your area flying. And also, I was a crew chief on the launcher side. I was a crew chief there. In other words, when we got told to operate, it was my responsibility to get my crew ready at their silo to launch.
And did you ever launch any?
No, fortunately, no.
And you were in Korea how long?
I'd say just over 2 years.
And tell me, I understand what your job responsibility was, but what went on while you were there? Did you have a social life? Did you mingle with anything other in the military?
In the military, yeah, we were able to go mingle, have a social life, with restrictions, you know, as anything. The same thing in Korea. A lot of times, a lot of us guys would get together. We were close to a sea when I was in Korea. A lot of us guys would get together. We'd go to the local PX there and get a few beers, head to the beach when we were on our days off, enjoy ourselves, and come back. There's more stories I could tell about that part, but no, I don't want to go into those.
Okay.
So we were able to go around to the country and mingle with the local area people there, which I was fascinated with. I even got invited to one of their homes.
And did you go?
Yes, with the police captain of the area got me invited to one of the homes there for a dinner, which was a fascinating thing. And they had a little display of their children doing taekwondo, which is the art of self-defense in Korea. They did a little display for me. Then we ate. And then after we ate, they have a peculiar custom that I wasn't aware of. And that is if you appreciated the food, you would belch. Well, everybody belched, and I thought that kind of strange. And the police captain explained to me, if you don't, it'll be offensive to the family that served you the food. And this is an appreciation of their food was good. So I had to fake one because it wasn't in me. But then I got to tour Korea too. I went to different places. Went to see a lot of their temples, which was amazing sights. Got to understand some of their customs. They were, for the most part, the South Korean people are very good people, strong people. They're the largest of the Oriental races. And will assist you whenever they can. But that's about it.
Were they very welcoming to the military people?
Depends where you were at. Sometimes I would have to say our military people did not mingle well. Some of us, most of us did, but there were some that weren't. And the thing is, sometimes people don't understand you're a guest in somebody else's country. So you have to respect their cultures, their ways, because they are totally different. Their ways are different, their culture is different. Their people respect their elders totally different than what I was used to over here, from the little to the older to the older to the older, and to the top of the older ones. They received the most respect. I've never seen a young person disrespect an older person because of his age or of his capacities. That was not allowed.
Now, some of the friendships you made in the military, other buddies while you were together, did you maintain those relationships when you came back?
I did with a few, but over the course of the years, with people moving, careers going on, you lose track.
Have they ever had a reunion that you've been able to attend?
No. And there might have been, except I'm not an internet person. I'm still, even though I'm starting to get into it, I'm still old school. I'd rather call you than text you or see you.
Were there any casualties from your military group?
No.
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. While you were in Korea?
No,
None
not
of
when
them?
I was in Korea.
Okay. But you felt like you really wanted to go fight?
Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I remember quite a few times the North Koreans, since we were so close to the sea, would go into China, come across the sea, and we would see them in the firefighting with the North Koreans, and we'd be on alert, ready to fight back in case they got passed up. They would try to get to our missile base. But they never succeeded, so that's about the closest I ever got.
Didn't have to launch any of those missiles out of the silos?
No.
Were you able to see any movies while you were in Korea or while you were in the military? Can you remember what some of those might have been? Or popular songs at the time?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't recall any movies. We might have, but I don't know if I went to them or not.
Did Bob Hope ever come over to entertain your troops?
I did go to, was it Camp Casey, I believe, for Bob Hope's show with Anne Margaret.
So you got to see him?
I got to see him, and I was, maybe 20 rows from the front. So I had a good view, and I fell in love with Anne Margaret. But that was one of the most exciting shows I ever did see while I was overseas.
And that was while you were in Korea?
That was while I was in Korea.
Was it his Christmas show?
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm. Can you remember who else was there with him?
No.
Anne Margaret?
All I can tell you is Anne Margaret, because that's where my whole attention went.
Oh my. So that's your most memorable experience while you were overseas?
Well, yeah. Also, I got to see, I remember we were also close to, there was a resort area where rich Europeans and Americans would go there, which wasn't very far from us. And one of the most amazing things that I still remember to this day, and I'll elaborate on that story, was there was a young man coming down the road in a car that was something like we've never seen before. And as he got down the road, we just stood there in amazement. He came down looking for help, but we ignored him because we were busy looking at his car, which happened to be a 1968 Dodge Challenger.
Wow.
When it first came out. And to this day, I love that car till this day, which caused me to buy one this year because it's been my dream car since 1968.
What color did you get?
Pardon?
What color did you get?
I got a black one.
Okay. So was this an American driving the car or a Korean?
I don't know, it was an American.
Okay.
It was an American young boy looking for some help. We finally gave him his help, but we wanted to see his car first.
So the war was still going on when you left?
It was just winding down.
Okay. Had the truce been spoken and they said the war's over?
No, by the time I came home, it was towards the end, and I believe they had, towards that end part, they had just a peacekeeping group there, and that's what I remember out of that part.
How'd you feel when you were coming back to the States, but the war wasn't over?
I felt kind of strange because I still did want to go over there. But I said, I just dealt with it. It wasn't meant to be. Maybe who knows for what reason. But I do know that the reason, from what I was told, they changed their mind on sending me is because I am the only sole surviving son of my dad. There's no one else to carry his name. And that's, at that time, that was a thing. At that era, whereas my cousins, there was a whole bunch of them, and they were Lopeses, and I was the Galvan, and so I was the only one that could carry the name.
Okay. What kind of reception did you get when you came back? Vietnam was a very controversial.
No, my reception was utter surprise because I told no one I was coming home, and they had an inkling because they received my duffel bag, which arrived before me, but they didn't know for what reason my duffel bag came home. And so when I came home, it was like a big surprise,
Okay.
which was my intention.
So of course they were happy and threw their arms around you and
Oh yes,
being the only
oh yes,
surviving
they were
son.
happy I was gone. I was home and everything.
Mhm.
But
So you had no brothers. What about sisters?
I have one sister.
Mhm. Had things changed a lot when you came back? Or did it all look the same?
Yes, because that's when which tower was that was built? The one with the X, the head tower. That was not there as I was flying in, and I'm looking at the skyline of downtown Chicago, and I says, wow, there was all kinds of, what do you call those, skyscrapers. And the Hancock just stood out, and I says, what is that? And that was like a total change of scenery and landscaping, and those, and just that amount of time, how things changed, I couldn't believe it.
One thing I didn't ask you, what about your mail service while you were in Korea? Did you get a lot of mail, or was mail call an important event?
I got some mail. Mail call wasn't important. I have a name that my cousins call me, the black sheep. And that's not because of bad, it's because I'm more of a loner. Sometimes you see me, sometimes you don't see me for a long time, in my younger days. So I would write, not that much, but maybe a couple times a year, 2, 3 times a year. I'm not much for that. I am the type of person that where I'm at, I'm living that time right then and there. And so I experience what I can experience at the time. And that's the way I've always been my whole life. I go somewhere, I go for the experience, and I try to find out as much as I can of the area where I'm at.
Have you ever gone back to Korea?
No, I thought about it, but no, never had the opportunity.
Have you joined the Veterans Organization?
Yes, I belong to a Hispanic Veterans Organization, which is the largest in the country. It's called the American GI Forum. It was started by a doctor, Dr. Hector P. Garcia. And slowly but surely, it spread across the country to Hispanics, veterans, which a lot of people don't realize there are a lot of Hispanic veterans. The Hispanics have the most Congressional Medal of Honors when, the recipients. A lot of people don't know that.
I have no idea.
There's an area in Silvis, Illinois called Hero Street, where in a square block area has the highest concentration of Hispanics or any ethnic group that die in that area, in that amount of area. Mm-hmm. And it was documented by PBS on Channel 11, called Hero Street, when they did the dedication for it. That's another thing. A lot of people don't understand that either. Mm-hmm. And we have tons of medal recipients that people aren't aware of also. But that's a lot in other ethnic groups too that you don't hear about. And it's not published or made widely known. But this one on patient, Hero Street, I would suggest if anybody gets that, could view that, because you can get it from PBS. And there was a tape on it. I believe we still have ours, which I'm going to get for here, this building.
Was the name of the tape Hero Street?
Hero Street.
And you said the experiences you had in the military made you what you are now. Yes.
The military made me the person I am, the man I am. They taught me a lot. They taught me a lot about responsibility, how to be a man, how to live my life, and other things. And that's who made me who I am now, mm-hmm. Other than my father.
Did you bring any photos to share with us?
No, as a matter of fact, no. I was looking for mine when I first went in, and I'm standing with my grandmother in my Army uniform, and for some reason, we put it away and we don't know where it's at.
You speak a lot about your grandmother. You've mentioned her before.
My grandma raised me.
Okay. Was that your dad's mother?
Yes. My grandma's the one that actually raised me.
Sounds like you learned a lot of life lessons from her.
Oh, yes, I did. From her wringing chickens by hand to pluck and cook, and all kinds of things. She would teach me things, teach me life. My grandma was a very modest person, but I was extremely important to her, and she was extremely important to me.
Was your father her favorite son, so she naturally passed that along to you?
Well, I don't know if it was her favorite son.
She was just glad to see you come along.
Yeah. Yeah. But Yeah, that's about it. I think that's about all I have to say.
Have we got 30?
Unless you have more questions.
Is there anything, you have nothing else you want to say? No comments?
No. That's it.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.